Pleased to have in the studio this evening Laurie Edwards, who's the author of In the Kingdom of the Sick, A Social History of Chronic Illness in America. She also teaches at Northeastern. The book has received very nice press, not only, of course, on shows like Radio Entrepreneurs, but we were just reading about an April 2013 article in USA Today. Laurie, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Hey, great to have you. Laurie, why don't you tell us first about the book?
Sure. So, In the Kingdom of the Sick is a social history of chronic disease in America, and it's really from post-World War II America up to present day. So it's looking at the way science, technology, and culture have shaped the experience of being sick.
And what was your impetus for writing the book?
Well, first of all, I'm a lifelong patient myself with chronic disease. I have a rare genetic respiratory condition called primary ciliary dyskinesia, or PCD, as well as celiac disease and thyroid disease. So that definitely informed it. But I also teach health science writing and to future health professionals. And I was really interested in the classroom conversations we were having about language and illness, and how the fact that the definition of a chronic disease, which is something that is treatable but not curable, has remained static, but the scope has just dramatically increased. And so I was really interested in sort of what are the effects of that.
So who is the book really designed for? Is it designed for practitioners so that they can better relate to their patients, or is it designed for, unfortunately, people like yourself that have been chronically ill to realize that there's another voice out there, etc.?
It actually has a very broad audience. So certainly patients, it will resonate very strongly with patients, especially topics like gender and pain or being an empowered patient. But certainly it's relevant for and accessible to practitioners, to policymakers, researchers, and even people who might not work in the health field and might not be a patient, but are just generally interested in science and technology.
And I know in preparing for our interview that the book is sold in mainstream media, if you will. It's sold in bookstores. It's not just an academic work or something that you assign in your classes. Is that correct?
Absolutely. And that was actually one of the biggest challenges, was that idea of translation. So how can I make history and science, accessible to the mainstream? And so absolutely, and there's a lot of different interviews and patient narratives and first-person stories that I think really help bring these concepts to light.
So are you positing that chronically ill patients are not being properly supervised by the system, or the chronically ill patients have a different trajectory and they need to go into the system with that in mind? Help us understand sort of the hypothesis from the book.
Sure. Well, that's actually a great question. So, I think that even though we have made a lot of progress, and I could go on at length in about the ways in which we have made progress, still HMOs, in the medical institution in general, are more designed to treat acute illness. So things like accidents, injury, car accidents, diseases like cancer, certain cancers, where we sort of expect a finite beginning and end. And chronic illness doesn't work like that, and the system still isn't really designed to help us. It's more about we need a lot more substantive prevention and the prevention of disease progression as well, and really we're not quite there yet.
But again, going